Before we get started, I want to warn you all that what you are about to see is very, very, very disturbing and very difficult both to listen to and watch visually, assuming that you are a human capable of emotion and empathy. This is by far some of the cruelest footage I've ever seen and heard in my lifetime, and I've seen a lot. But let's take a look.
Married to started supervisor start fire for a struck pedestrian.
Is it the same location, sir?
Negative, I'm going to be on Aurora.
So that was the first video, okay? And what you just saw, what you just witnessed was an officer of the law, police officer, speeding through the streets of Seattle, and as a result of him speeding, he does not have control of his vehicle, and he ends up hitting a student, a young female who was 23 years old, and she was in the crosswalk. She had all right in the world, following the laws. She wasn't jaywalking, right? Not that that would make this any better, but she was just trying to get across the street and get to her next destination. And this police officer strikes her, and you hear him respond to hitting a human, a young lady. And it sounds as if he's just reporting the news. No ounce of emotion. He didn't say, oh shit. He didn't say, oh my God, nothing. You hear none of that. He reports it and calls it in as if it's just another day at the office. But we're not done. I got one more video to show you. Unfortunately, and this is probably the most egregious one.
Yeah, totally. All right, brother. Well, yep. I'm sure TCIS is. And oh, he was good. He says, well, normally we don't give voluntary statements. And I said, hey, you're going to have to decide if you wanted to give a statement or not. But it does not seem like there's a criminal investigation going on. Otherwise, there would be other... What's that? Yeah. Otherwise, there might be other people arriving, correct? Yeah, I mean, he's going 50. That's not out of control. That's not reckless for a trained driver. Yeah, lights and sirens. Yeah. Yeah, well, there's some... initially, he said she was in a crosswalk. There's a witness that says no, she wasn't. But that witness could be different because I don't think she was thrown 40 feet either. I think she went up on the hood, hit the windshield, then when he hit the brakes, flew off the car. But she is dead. No, it's a regular person. Yeah. Yeah, just write a check. Just, yeah, $11,000. She was 26 anyway. She had limited value.
Sheesh. Play that back if you have to. I'm going to read a little bit of the article from this before I get into what I have to say about it. It says, newly released body cam footage reveals a Seattle police officer laughed and made light of the death of a young woman who was struck and killed by a cop car, joking she had limited value and the city should just write a check. Officer Daniel Otter can be heard in the video discussing the investigation into the wreck involving 23-year-old grad student Janavi Kandula, I want to make sure I get her name correctly, who was struck and killed by his colleague, Officer Kevin Dave, on January 23rd. Says she is dead, Otter says, before bursting out laughing. And then says, no, it's a regular person, he says, referring to Kandula. Toward the end of the video, Otter can be heard saying, through bursts of laughter, yeah, just write a check. $11,000. She was 26 anyway, he said, misstating the victim's age. She had limited value. Otter, who serves as the Seattle Police Guild's vice president, also mentions in the clip that he did not believe a criminal investigation was being conducted. This is him right here. Right there. He looks like a good and proper, good old boy, don't he? A good old boy. Look at his face. I can damn near see the racism on his face. This is him. This is the piece of trash that you hear conversing with one of his other colleagues, laughing about a young woman's death. Officer Daniel Otter was caught on body cam video laughing and joking about the fatal collision. Yep, that's him. Seattle police officer Kevin Dave fatally struck 23-year-old grad student Janavi Kandula while speeding in January. This is Dave right here trying to administer. This is him right here trying to administer CPR in the moment. They blurred out the image, of course, because you know, you can't have that. And then he goes on to say, I mean, this is the other officer. This is the vice president speaking on the phone about the incident after he found out about it. He said, I mean, he was going 50 miles per hour. That's not out of control. That's not reckless for a trained driver, Otter said. However, a report released in June revealed Dave was actually driving 74 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone while responding to a different high-priority call. Otter responded to the scene of the January 23rd crash to conduct a drug test on Dave. Timestamps on the body cam footage show that his call to another colleague about the incident took place the following evening. So this is a day later when this footage is recorded of his own personal body cam that he did not realize was on and recording him. Dave had chirped his siren, but did not have it running continuously as he plowed into Kandula, a master's student at Northeastern University's Seattle campus. Footage of the incident shows. This is the young lady. That's the young lady right there whose life was just snatched, plucked. Complete and total disregard. This officer's name, as I read in the article, and I'm going to put his dumbass face up on the screen as well again so we can all get a good look at what a piece of human shit looks like. This idiot's name is Daniel Otter. Okay, remember it well. And he is the one that you hear on video making jokes about this young lady whose name was Janavi Kandula. And she was struck by his colleague, Kevin Dave, and as a result died from her injuries. And he lied and said that he was going 50 miles per hour, when actually Kevin Dave, as I understand it, and as we read in the article, was going 74 miles per hour in a 25 mile per hour zone when he murdered this young lady. And then you hear him casually call it in before casually, slowly stopping his vehicle and getting out. I played this back a minimum of 10 times at least, just so I could make sure that I was listening to what he said correctly. There's not an ounce of emotion in this officer's voice as he killed and murdered this young woman. He could care less. It's like another Tuesday for him, just another night on the job. And then we switch over to the audio of the man that was given a station and position of authority to oversee and govern over matters involving the Seattle Police Guild. As president, can you imagine all the other egregious and deplorable shit this piece of trash has said behind closed doors that we will never hear? You really start to get an idea of what kind of people and what kind of animals are running that police department, and it's absolutely disgusting. You hear him say, "She is dead," and he followed that up with an outburst of laughter. And this is why the police get such a terrible reputation, and you have movements like the defund police emerging all over the country, because you have officers like these two idiots in positions of power given to them by the government that are still part of an organization that, for the most part, was established back in the 1700s as a goddamn slave patrol. And that's how many of them still act and carry out their daily tasks today. That's how many of them still act. Like a fucking slave patrol. Let's not forget the origin of this shit. This started back in the 1700s, and these motherfuckers had one goal, and that goal was to keep slaves, or in other words, niggas, in line, and keep them from creating an uprising to fight back against their oppressors. That singular purpose was to establish themselves as an imposing legion of doom in order to dominate, terrorize, arrest, and disseminate any group of niggas that even thought about possibly opposing their masters. And this vision has been carried for centuries and veiled behind the apparition of public servant. Y'all really comfortable out here telling police officers that you pay their salaries like that's supposed to mean some shit to them? They don't give a damn about that. They don't give a damn about none of that shit y'all talking about. They are protected. They are protected. And at the end of the day, they get into their little squad cars with their guns, their gear, and their superiority complex and their God complex, and patrol the streets, ready to extract whatever kind of justice they deem as just cause. Looking at all of us as expendable pieces and pawns on a chessboard with, what do you say? Limited value. This girl moved here from India to get an education in science and engineering and was due to graduate in December of this year, when she was hit by this idiot behind the steering wheel, and she was thrown more than 100 feet from the impact, and the life that had such promise and ambition was snatched just like that and laughed about afterward. So the next time you people in Seattle walk up to the goddamn polls to vote for the mayor in Seattle or whatever group of officials that are on the ballot, just remember that they are the ones responsible for answering to the recruitment of pieces of shit like Daniel Arter and Kevin Dave.